find my screen again. All right, awesome. So we've done our check-in. So I figured out that sometimes the internet connection, that's the lag time between advancing slides. I actually heard or saw, I don't know how many of you know Shari from Portland. She's an evaluation consultant. She was actually had her slides like crash in the middle of a webinar. So if there's a hold up, just give me a second, because yeah, it's Zoom doing its thing. But anyway, all right, so today we're going to be talking about tracking your time. And for those of you who are new to our little coaching sessions or my office hours, my name is Ann Price and I'm president of Community Evaluation Solutions. And I'm just offering some office hours and some coaching to those of you who are getting started with your evaluation business. So let me tell you a little story. So once upon a time, I don't know, early 2004, I know I was having breakfast with my friend Linda and was talking to her about the idea of starting my consulting business, and really nervous about it. Didn't know if I should do it. Should I go back and get a real job? Should I just stay home with the kids? What the heck was I gonna do? And she made it super simple. She goes, well, you know, how much do you need to make? And I said, well, I promised Dan, that's my husband, I promised Dan that I would pay back my school loan. Well, how much is that? And I told her, and she goes, well, you know, how many contracts would you need, right? She broke it into really simple steps for me. And just that short conversation helped me to see that I could meet that really small goal. I could definitely I could pay back my school loan. I knew I could get enough work to do that. So back in the day, I would, when I got my first contract, which was pretty immediate, right? I got my little Vistaprint cards. I don't even think I had a website like right away. I developed that fairly soon after. I would write down my time on a piece of paper, like, you know, just notes, because I had a really small goal. That was my goal. And, you know, I just realized I did not have my screen on, the wide screen, sorry. Are you still seeing my screen? Okay, guys, sorry. Can you see the big screen?
I see the presenter's view.
You see the presenter's view. Okay, thank you. All right, well, let me change that. We will definitely be editing this. Stop share. Let me share again. Obvious. One of these days I'm going to get this right from the very beginning. And I have like 3 screens, so trying to decide where the mouse goes is quite the challenge. Okay, come on, darn it. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. Okay, share screen. Okay. Okay, I think I got the right one. Okay, now do you see the big screen?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So anyway, like I was saying, so I had a very small goal, which was to pay my school loan, and I would write my time on a piece of paper, just when I started and stopped whatever it was I was doing, whether it be talking to a client or writing a report or doing data analysis, because I had a small goal, small dream. And then we started to grow, we being me, because it was me for the first couple of years, and things got a little more complicated. So Gail Barrington, in her book, Consulting, Startup, and Management, says this: if research and evaluation services is what you sell, time is the unit of measurement. The time is the unit of measurement you use to track it. So why is tracking your time important? You know, you've got a lot of things on your mind. You're trying to figure out how to get my website, how do I get noticed, how do I get my clients, right? Tracking your time is really important, even from the beginning, because it provides accountability to your clients. You're making a promise that you are going to do XYZ project for this amount of money, right? Which equates to a certain amount of time. So accountability to your clients, first of all. And then accountability to the lead if you're a subcontractor, which many of us are when we were first kind of starting out. We might be acting as a sub. And I'll give you an example here. So I have been working on a project. I have a subcontractor. The project is one of those that, let's just say data collection is really messy. So things always take longer than you think. And so I said, hey, how are you doing on your time? And she's like, oh, golly gee, I haven't really been keeping track of that like I should have, right? So yeah, so even if, whether it be for your own business or if you're a sub, tracking your time is really important. It's also really important because none of us want to get sued. We can talk about insurance on another call, not the most sexy conversation, but it is important. We certainly don't want to get sued for fraud. We want to do what we say we're going to do, and we want to be able to show that we've done it in case you get audited for some reason. So tracking your time, don't want to get sued. You also want to make money, right? Yes, we all have, I think most of us have some kind of call for social justice or social change, at least all of us on this call today do. But we want to make money at the end of the day, right? We want to make money doing the thing that we love. And you want to know whether or not you're making $50,000 or $5, right? If you've budgeted a project and you say, you know, all right, client, it's going to cost, you know, $5,000 and I'm going to spend X number of hours on this project, and you spend like 3 times that amount, then clearly you're not making the money that you thought you were going to make. So you do need to kind of keep that in mind. So let's talk about what you should track. So first of all, you should track all of the time you spend on a project. So client meetings, phone calls, emails, presentations, trainings, webinars, required phone calls. Sometimes I'm required to be on the phone with the client, with their funder, for example. Data analysis, reporting, any kind of infographics or data viz that you do, closeout meetings, kickoff meetings, all of those things. Those are what we call billable time, right? So all of those things you need to track. And then there's a whole bunch of things that are not billable. They're non-billable hours. And you may have more of this in the beginning of your business, but my experience is that all of this stuff kind of tends to grow as you grow your business and you have other people working. So that would be marketing, which would include social media or the blog post. Any professional development you do, this would count as non-billable hours. Any trainings, conferences, if you're writing articles as a way to get your name out there, if you're doing a podcast, anything like that, that you cannot charge to a specific project is a non-billable hours, but you should also track that time. So let's talk about how you should track your time. You can do what I did in the very beginning, which is just good old paper and pencil. You don't need anything fancy. You don't have to buy any fancy software. You can find this advice in Gail's book again in chapter 9. And this might be a good place to start. When you're first starting out, you don't want to buy a bunch of software. You don't want to spend a lot of money. You want to keep it really lean. I started my business with $1,000, right? So, and this is kind of what I did. I just wrote down the start and the stop time, what I was doing, who the client was, and how many hours I spent. Super simple. Doesn't have to be very complicated at all. Then this is exactly what I did. I grew from, you know, writing it down on a piece of paper to throwing the information in a spreadsheet. So in Gail's book, she talks about splitting the time up between like pay periods. So if you're getting paid twice a week, you could set up your spreadsheet for, you know, the first 2 weeks of the pay period and the second 2 weeks. You might want to think about that. And so you'll see here, you know, you can just create this spreadsheet. You've got your task, exactly what you did, the date, and you'll see a space for a project name. You can see how this would get, you could make this get more complicated as you get more clients, right? Because you could have the worksheets have formulas that add up and have some kind of summary table that gives you the information that you need. So yeah, good old Excel. We all have that. Doesn't cost you anything extra to do that. So again, just to review, billable hours are those that can be charged to a specific client for a specific task. Non-billable hours cannot be charged to a client. Anything related that is not project related, professional development, marketing, administrative stuff, invoicing, all of that kind of thing is non-billable. So your billable rate, there's a couple different ways to do it, but just for simplicity's sake, I'm giving you this definition: the number of billable hours divided by the number of hours for a particular time period. So in this example, if you're going with a 40-hour work week, but you've only spent 30 hours of your time, that's a 75% billable rate. So you'll see, and I'd be curious about your experience in other organizations. Sometimes organizations, social science shops will give each person a goal for their billable rate. I mean, I have a personal goal. I have a goal for my research associate. So we want to make sure that we're keeping our billable rate up. So I want to give you a couple of different ways to track your time. The very first electronic thing we did to track time was use this free tool called Toggle, and I've given you the website here. Toggle is kind of like a start and stop system. You just click, it starts, you click when it stops. And that served us really well in the beginning. I mean, we could, we could say what kind of project it was, what the name of the project was, and start and stop, and we had, our report. Super easy, free. What's not to like about that? Then as we continued to grow, we also needed more of a project management system. And by that, I mean, we needed a system where we defined our clients and defined our deliverables and knew how much time we were spending on each deliverable. And we had different people assigned to each task. So we needed more of a project management system. So then we switched over to something called FunctionFox, and that's what we use now. We've been using that probably for 3 or 4 years. What I like about FunctionFox, like I said, is we can define tasks. I can make action assignments. So I had 2 client calls this morning. I had tasks that I had to do. I can program them into FunctionFox as an assignment for myself, give myself a deadline, or assign a task to either my office manager or my research associate, set a deadline. When we get a new client, we can program all of the tasks and how much the total cost of that project is, and by deliverable. And we can report out, we can look at a report that I can look at my billable rate, my RA's billable rate. We can see, are we over or under on different tasks, and where we are on the total project. So it's more of a project management system, but it's also a time management system. So, 10 minutes when I'm getting ready to start this call, I hit, I selected the task for this coaching call, hit time, and it's running in the background. When we get done with this, I'll hit stop, and then I'll have this time tracked. So I really like FunctionFox. It's not very expensive. I'm sorry, I don't have the number in front of me. It's not horribly expensive, but there is a cost to it. Now, these are only 2. I'm only giving you 2 examples, but there are others. So in the slide deck, I just kind of, found this article for you, the 10 best time tracking tools of 2020. There are other free tools out there or low-cost tools, and you can use this website and kind of do your own research and see what you think might be helpful to you. So I guess my only other tip about time, and it's so funny because I was listening to a marketing podcast and I had just made this slide, eat your frogs in the morning. I'm not sure if you know what eat your frogs in the morning is. I've heard it's a Mark Twain quote. I'm not quite sure, but my bestie Julie says this all the time. Eat your frogs in the morning. That means do the thing that you kind of most don't want to do in the morning. Otherwise, you're just kind of carrying around, you're kind of dreading the thing. And it kind of puts a damper on the rest of your day. Just eat your frog, get it over with, and move on to the tasks that are really enjoyable. So that is definitely my time tip of the day. So yeah, so here's my contact information if you have any questions or you want a little more detail on any of the information that I have provided today. Okay, so I'm gonna stop and let me check the chat box. Okay, all right, so Aisha, why don't you guys come back on and maybe you can talk about Rev. I have heard about that. Oh, you meant toggle. Okay.
Yeah, I totally inverted because, you know, it's morning.
Okay, I'm going to turn off the recording now.
I've been doing that a lot more lately, inverting. Like I called